All right, legal matters for you now. The High Court in Pretoria expected to hand down judgment in the 5 billion rand Thuja capital-UIF contract matter. So, Employment and Labour Minister Thulas Nxesi approached the court, you might remember, on an urgent basis back in November of 2023 to set aside the contract. The minister also asked the court to order Thuja Capital CEO Mdwaba to stop spreading corruption allegations against him. SABC News Economics reporter Katlego Legodi is watching these developments and joins us now live from the High Court. And I suppose it's worth taking a few steps back. Katlego, get us a sense of how we got here as you tell us what we can expect today.
A very good morning to you, Ayanda, and to our viewers at home. Well, we find ourselves here 6 months later. This is where we saw in November last year, 2023, the Minister of Employment and Labour, Thulas Nxesi, approaching this court on an urgent basis just for them to set aside this contract with Thuja Capital, but also just pushing to ensure that these allegations of corruptions that he says that the Thuja Capital CEO, Mdwaba, has been on a campaign to slander his name should be stopped by the courts. Remember that this is a matter whereby we saw Mr. Mdwaba accusing not only this minister, but there were other two ministers that were accused here, whereby he said that they solicited a 500 million rand bribe for just this contract between them and the UIF to find meaning and for the monies to be rolled out. So he says that when he disagreed and he refused to that bribe, that's when then he's victimized in this particular regard. The reason why the minister says that this contract doesn't stand and needs to be set aside is because he's approached the courts to say that this particular contract did not meet the PFMA and other labor guidelines in terms of it being rolled out. So he wants the court to just more or less solidify him setting aside this particular contract. But we saw Mr. Mdwaba a bit about how then this matter has panned out. He basically says that when you look at it, his company, Thuja Capital, has in the right standing deserves to have this contract, but arguments presented here by Thabani Masuku, presenting the minister, Advocate Thabani Masuku, was that when you look at it, there was also conflict of interest, because this is where we saw Mr. Mdwaba getting this contract while at the helm here of an institution that was working with the UIF, this being Productivity South Africa. So he's saying that there were conflicts of interest in this regard, and he wants the court to just more or less take into consideration, one, the fact that this contract did not follow proper procedures. Two, that when you look at it, there were conflict of interest where Mr. Mdwaba is concerned, whereby he was the Productivity SA CEO, Thuja Capital CEO, and now then the contract would be gotten from the UIF through Productivity SA to Thuja Capital, and saying that when you look at it, this is basically it's not legal. And also what we saw coming out of this particular court, Ayanda, if I can take you back, was the back and forth that we saw play out here. There was an interlocutory order that was presented by Mr. Mdwaba, where on numerous occasions he's been saying that the minister and his team have been withholding information that is crucial for him to argue this particular case. But the minister's team dismissing this as just a waste of the court's time and delay tactics. Remember that he had wanted this matter to be done away with from last year already, but Mr. Mdwaba seemed to believe that the minister is a bitter man, and the reason why we find ourselves here is because he did not adhere to those issues around just pertaining the bribe that was sought. He alleges that it was sought by this minister and even other officials from the African National Congress. So what we're expecting to see today is Judge Yapi Maritz ascending to the stage, to the podium there, to give us a sense of his ruling. Is going to be giving us a judgment on whether this case will be thrown out, or is he's going to grant the minister what he's been calling for quite some time. Another thing that was notable in this regard is that at some point earlier on in the year, we saw Mr. Mdwaba firing his legal team. So that was also just cited as another delay tactic from the court. And Judge Yapi Maritz not really happy about developments in this particular regard. They gave him time to find a legal team. So when we get inside, we'll get a sense of what is happening and how the matter is standing as we speak right now. At some point, he was even given a chance, Mr. Mdwaba, to address the court, give them sense of why we find ourselves here, and he still believes to date, Ayanda, that there was something untoward by the minister's end in terms of setting aside this contract. We are told that the minister is not here in person today, but we'll see his team just moving into court 6G, and just to give us a sense and get what the judge will be, saying in this regard and handing out that judgment. But they're looking forward to just a fruitful response from the judge, looking at how this matter has rolled out so far. Ayanda?
Right, Katlego Legodi, a lot of allegations and counter-allegations unfolding in this matter. We'll see how the court decides. Katlego Legodi is our reporter live to us from the High Court in Pretoria.